This presentation, titled Benefits of Reestablishing and Maintaining Regular Audit Cycle, comes to us from Mohammad Niazi. Mohammad is Operation Manager Assurance for SII Global, where he leads a strong team of more than 20 third-party auditors. He has more than 19 years of experience as a lead auditor, consultant, and trainer in the fields of quality, environmental, and health and safety, and has led third-party auditing teams in more than 300 organizations. Mohammad is a third-party lead verifying auditor for ISO 9001, ISO 14001, AS/NZS 4801, OSIS 18001, and ISO 45001, leading audits in large, diversified industries with extensive experience in engineering, consulting, construction, facilities management, automotive, and electrical industries, providing risk-based process auditing. And with that, take it away, Mohammad.
Thank you very much, Mike, for the introduction and kind words. Welcome to the presentation of benefits of reestablishing and maintaining a regular audit cycle. Most of you will know that certification industry has been hugely impacted by the COVID. This presentation will highlight mainly 4 issues. First, the impact of this unprecedented situation on the field of third-party auditing. Second, the changes which were implemented. Third, the challenges the change brought with itself. And lastly, the benefits of returning to normal auditing in post-COVID world. Before we talk about audits, why organizations and our clients even chase certifications, here are some of the reasons. An effectively conducted audit by an adequately qualified auditor will bring benefits such as increased efficiency and continuous improvement and so on. Some clients have contractual obligations and some require certifications for tender qualification purposes too. Certified organizations generally hold a competitive edge against the non-certified organizations in the same industry. Before we get into the details, it is important to understand the context of third-party auditing and/or certification audits. There are many types of third-party audits, but for the purpose of this presentation, we will limit ourselves to the management system audits only. Third-party audits are independent and impartial in nature, supported by an accreditation governing framework. A CAB, such as SCI Global, who gets accredited by accreditation body, conducts third-party audits of management system established to meet the requirements of one or more contractual standards. Just for the curious ones, there are first and second party audits as well. However, they do not fall under the certification schemes. First party audits are normally the internal audits, and second party audits are, for example, customer auditing supplier and/or vice versa. As we will be continuously mentioning accreditation and certification bodies in this presentation, hence a little information about them. Accreditation bodies are one level above the certification bodies in the chain of command. Accreditation bodies such as JASANS, Joint Accreditation Services of Australia and New Zealand, recognizes a CAB's and/or certification body's competence to conduct third-party audits. Certification bodies must strictly abide by the policies and procedures, code of ethics, conduct established to meet its accreditation requirements. Although there's a lot of onus on certification and accreditation bodies, certified organizations must fulfill their responsibilities too, such as adhering to terms and conditions of their chosen CB and keeping their CB informed in case of any changes and/or developments which may impact the implementation of the management system requirements. Certified organizations are jointly responsible for ensuring timely and adequately delivery of their audits as per their relevant frequencies and scopes too. Before I mention about disruption to audit life cycle, I will explain the life cycle first. As mentioned previously, there are many types of third-party audits, but for the purpose of this presentation, we are only limiting to management system audits. Mainstream third-party management system audits, such as For quality, environment, health and safety, audits follow the audit life cycle pattern of number one, stage one or pre-audit, stage two or certification audit, surveillance audit. They are mostly yearly in a targeted month, and recertification or triennial audits, which is every third year or before the expiry date. All what I've explained till now was all good and well until certification industry and auditing was disrupted by coronavirus. Now let's look into what is the situation. Certification industry had to fight for its survival for the most of 2020. Certification bodies had to adhere critical business challenge. That was, how can they remain productive and continue to deliver services when their auditors cannot travel and their clients may not be at their usual workplaces, or in some extreme cases, the organizations which they want to audit are not even operational. Other challenge was to deal with CB's own scheme owners, which established the rule to establish the rules of IAF and accreditation, and most importantly, how to conduct an effective audit. The answer was remote auditing, taking the advantage of available technology. Where complete remote audits were not appropriate or possible, a certificate or audit extension assessment was utilized to evaluate the ongoing effectiveness of the management system. Audit extensions to the recertification and surveillance audits were granted by completing a brief assessment. I will now briefly explain the both, that is remote audits and extension audits. Remote auditing, although existed before, was not being utilized widely. Wide range of technological options are to be thanked for making remote audits possible at such a short notice. Without the right type of technology, the concept of remote audits would have been far-fetched. New rules and policies were developed literally on overnight basis, and relevant personnel were made aware and trained remotely on remote auditing process. A lot of support documentation such as risk assessment, supported through risk matrices, questionnaires, and ICT feasibility tests and reviews were established. The effectiveness of a remote audit when compared to a traditional audit is still debatable. However, considering the circumstances, the overall process has been a huge success. It is important not to confuse remote audits with virtual audits though. Virtual audits are auditing where no auditees are involved, is not yet conceived in the management system audits. Virtual audits are paperless and electronic that are conducted without face-to-face interaction. All data is exchanged in electronic formats. Remote audits still have face-to-face interactions via the ICT media tools. There is a lot of work required to conceive a full virtual audit in a management system environment. However, just on contrary, the concept of virtual audits in terms of financial audits is being touted as the future of that industry. Now, a little bit about the extension audits or assessments. Extension assessments were offered in extreme cases where organizations were not operational at all. For example, organizations such as event management companies. However, clients had to comply with strict timeframes. Relevant operational processes and documentation requirements were also established and implemented. For details, if you are curious, you can refer to IAF website to their frequently asked questions. Now, let's highlight impacts of the response to COVID situation. Audit lifecycle disruption, as I mentioned before, organizations have been dealing with unprecedented situation and operational limitations. Hence, audit life cycles have been disrupted as audits were not able to be completed in a timely manner. That is too far apart from the previous audit, again, because of the extension process involved at the moment. As a result, CBs have less confidence in the organization's capability in ongoing handling of changes to the business environment that might impact the effectiveness of the management system which a CB is certifying. There is no doubt that there are advantages of remote audits, but barriers are also to be overcome. Remote audits are still a challenge, and we must at least get few things right. Otherwise, there will be issues during and or after the audit. Those factors include, but are not limited to, information security, software capabilities, audit planning, organizational preparedness, and overall execution. Just to quickly highlight the importance of information security in the context of remote audits. Auditors must have non-disclosure agreements in place and have at least a basic understanding of information security risks so that any information assessed or downloaded is kept within the confines of the audit. Remote audits are hinged on information security measures, and there lies the risk too, and must be effectively managed. Control of information communication technology media tools, or ICT media tools, through information security measure is a critical and fundamental consideration in remote auditing techniques. This is a separate topic itself. For certain types of organizations, remote audits is definitely a way forward. For example, for those organizations now working remotely permanently due to the impacts of COVID and therefore require only remote audits moving forward. Some requirements and components may be able to be audited remotely now, especially in the cases of multi-site certification and sites and project site situations. It is important to note it is all subject to accreditation rules and regulations. It will require a major thought process from the organizations such as IAF, ISO, and related accreditation bodies to implement that process. Now let's look at the other side of the story. And that is the benefit of regular audits in post-COVID world. We will go through the benefits to the organizations, certification bodies, and industries in returning to pre-COVID on normal audit types or cycles. Or cycles, I would correct myself. First, the benefits to the organizations. Return to pre-COVID business as usual practice will result in better overall auditing experience and outcome due to effective project or site audits, adequate gaps between the audits, reduced limitations in evidence gathering, reduce information security risks, adequate evidence gathering and reporting, minimize risks of omissions, and better coverage and involvement of more personnel. I would have loved to take some questions on above benefits here and discuss them one by one, but it is not possible at the moment. So in general, results will be better because there will be reduced limitations due to reduced remote audits and extensions in general. There are benefits to the certification and accreditation bodies as well, such as predictability of workload, which is a major issue in certification industry, effective scheduling and resource management, adequate implementation and of accreditation rules, reduction in supporting documentation, improve confidence in organizations' capability of handling of changes to to the business environment and overall reduce risk to the accreditation chain. Now, the benefits to the industry. Certification bodies will be back to their normal capability in assessing and delivering the following audit outcomes. For example, challenging the status quo, continual improvement assessment, integrity of the management system, context of the business objectives, and adequacy, suitability, and effectiveness of the management system. Again, it is hard to talk in monologue situation about those benefits. I would have loved to discuss them in a conversation mode, maybe at some other time or platform. In summary, there will be an overall improved risk management to industries and in turn to community due to well-spaced, timely audits, which will be closely monitoring organizations' activities. Again, to conclude, COVID-19 has resulted into the introduction of remote audits at the certification auditing stage with a very limited prior planning. Audit frequencies and cycles disruption were also the resultant of the situation. Remote audits, although were the savior, certification and accreditation industries still have their limitations, barriers, and challenges. And there are clear benefits in returning to COVID business. And there are clear benefits in returning to pre-COVID business as usual activities as soon as practically possible. With this test run of COVID, with this test run of remote audits, the certification and certification industries have gained valuable knowledge to adjust and improve the overall audit delivery process in a non-pandemic situation. With this, it brings me to the end of the content of this presentation. Here is some information about SCR Global for your reference. I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening and watching. Stay safe and all the best.
Thank you, Mohammad Niazi, for that look at the benefits of a regular auditing cycle. And that concludes this presentation.